On Press Perspective today, we touch upon the power of cultural contents in promoting soft diplomacy across borders. Do stay with us. Hello and welcome to Press Perspective. It's Friday, June 13th here in Seoul. I'm Min Sunhee. Now, it's been called soft power, soft diplomacy, cultural diplomacy and more. Well, regardless of its name, quite a number of countries are investing in creative industries, fully aware that movies, music and food can work wonders in building connections across borders. For more on South Korea's efforts on this front, I have Marianna Baroli with Italian weekly news magazine Panorama back here in the studio. Marianna, it's been a while. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Sunny.
I also have writer Colin Marshall with the pundit's take on today's topic. Colin, it's great to have you here.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Marianna, let's begin with some remarkable news for Korean musicals on Broadway. The production may be happy ending. It won this year's Tony Award for Best Musical. That was among the 6 awards, of course, that it garnered this year. What do you believe is behind the rave reviews of maybe happy ending, and what do you suppose is the relevance of this recognition?
I think that's something very natural, actually. That's something we've been witnessing for a while. So that Korean soft power is not anymore a soft power, it's a full power, and it's now considering power in every kind of sectors in the entertainment industry, but not only on the entertainment, and being awarded with the Tony Awards. I think it's totally normal because this play is amazing. It's cheerfully and it's intense. It has everything that's for Tony Awards. That's very natural that it has won. But I think we are witnessing something very new, and it's that Korean power is a full power. It's a full wave. It's not just a K-pop wave or a Hallyu wave. It's a real wave that's like conquering all the world.
Marianna, for the sake of our viewers, could you very quickly tell us what the musical is about? I understand it's about 2 robots.
Well, yeah, it's like being in love, but also I think it's not the plot of what the plot is about. It's more like when you see it, it's how do you feel about the plot, you know? I think everyone can see something different inside the plot because it's very weird, it's very robotic, you know, it's very, but it's so intense, so tearfully, so romantic in some way that when you see it, you're like, it's like watching your home story, but from another perspective. And you can see something very new every time. I watched it 2 times actually, and I was like, I feel like I'm watching a different play every time. I think it's the strength of this play.
Right, and hence it won the Tony Award for this year for Best Musical. Colin, a recent article by the New York Times highlights the role of creative productions in advancing soft diplomacy, and the article itself points to the cultural outreach, and I'm quoting, of K-pop. What are your thoughts regarding this assessment? I mean, what has been the impact of K-pop, perhaps, in promoting Korea on the international stage?
Yes, this article in the New York Times, it's a survey of several different countries. And of course, you can't talk about cultural diplomacy of this kind without talking about Korea. And you can't talk about how Korea does it without talking about K-pop. And I know a Koreanist, a scholar of Korea and New Zealand named Stephen Epstein, and he had an article where he coined the term special K to refer to this K in K-pop, in K-beauty, in K-food, in K-travel, and so on, K-dramas, K-everything. That is, to his mind, the special K. And there is no K more special than the K in K-pop because that's been, in a way, the point of the spear for a lot of different countries, especially within Asia. Maybe less so in some parts of the West, but it still holds true there as well. I mean, when I meet Americans who come to Korea for the first time, or other Westerners indeed, usually they're not in the K-pop demographic. They're not really K-pop listeners. Maybe they've heard something, but typically they're just sort of generally aware that Korea is a place where things are happening. This is an interesting country now. It's kind of a cool country. It's a country where people are going. And so I think K-pop actually plays a part in that. This is a second order effect of K-pop specifically, or Hallyu, the Korean wave, more generally. So even people who are not K-pop inclined, shall we say, because of how far K-pop has pushed into the world, they may get a sense, oh, okay, Korea is important, Korean pop culture is important, maybe not my thing in some cases, but they come to Korea and they like it anyway. So I think that's the goal. I mean, mission accomplished for official Korea, as I say. But you know, there's a fascinating contrast between K-pop and J-pop, Japanese pop music, which in the 90s there was some talk that, you know, it's really getting big, J-pop. Maybe it's going to break into the US or somewhere in the West. It never really did. For a variety of reasons people have speculated about, but one factor to consider is that it came, that era, the 90s, was before streaming video. K-pop was right there in the era of YouTube and other streaming services. You know, the internet got powerful enough. It had the carrying capacity to just stream video on demand wherever you were, whatever you wanted. And that was the context in which K-pop could arise and get over the problem of, number one, the language barrier. Because K-pop, as we all know, very visual medium, visual form. You don't really need to understand it, though it helps, the lyrics, if you can see what's going on, if you can see the visual spectacle, the personalities of the band members coming through, the stage designs, everything else. I mean, it's music, but it's equally visual. And so because there was the technology for foreign countries around the world to just take it all in at once at the time of release, that helped a lot, I think, with K-pop becoming as powerful as it has been for Korea.
Right. Listening to you talk brings to mind Psy's Gangnam Style
Oh,
on
sure.
YouTube, right?
I mean, that's without YouTube, there would be no Gangnam Style.
Right. Marianna, the same article by the New York Times, it claims that investments in creative industries by quite a number of countries have risen over the past decade. What more can you add to this reality?
I think that's very natural, and that's something that we need to witness. We will witness, we continue to witness in other countries as well. I hope that the Western countries will take accountance of that. K-pop is rising because there is a huge investment of money also, and we're making, South Korea is making a huge effort on bringing K-pop everywhere in the world in every form. So I think that without these big investments, even the Western musicians or Western entertainment should be aware that they need something more, because it's not anymore a soft power as we were talking about. We can keep calling like that because we're used to, but the power is not soft anymore. It's actually a huge power, in vast power. It's like a bomb. And we need to be aware that continuing to giving funds to entertainment, that will bring it to the world, and that will show other side of the world. For example, I'm thinking about Italian music. It's getting very popular here as well, for example, with Maneskin, you know? But we need to do some more, because if we have some more efforts from our government and investment, we need to just look at what's happening here and emulate that, you know? I think K-pop will continue to be rising in that area. I think it's strong. The strength is immense, and now the BTS are coming back, and Blackpink are having a comeback as well. This is a huge year for K-pop, so we need to see what's going on. But I think the investments are going to be a lot, way more.
Also staying with K-pop, Marianna, geopolitical circumstances, they've also reportedly had quite a big impact on K-pop's activities as well as its revenue profits. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. I think that, you know, when we talk about K-pop, when we cannot talk about K-pop without talking about the groups that makes K-pop, you know. Everything is very connected, and it's whenever we see K-pop, we see the artists as well. And I think the governments need to focus on the artists as persons though, and focus on their health and their mental health a lot. And without worries about, you know, the fans. I think sometimes K-pop worries too much about fans and their reactions. But it's a market, and as a market, they need to deliver what the fans want. So the investments and BTS and whoever is coming next, I think they're going to be the people that we're shaping K-pop in the next few years.
Right. Colin, to what extent do you suppose have policies by administrations affected perhaps the initiatives of the culture, the special K culture industry, would you say?
This is something that stands out to many foreign observers, the amount of foreign money or resources put into popular culture, which is different than many other countries, or certainly to a different extent, a larger extent than many other countries. And it can take many forms, of course. I think back to one of the media that got me into Korea was film, and there was for a long time, I think it's still in effect, but less forcefully, a screen quota. This percentage of screens had to be occupied by Korean films. Theaters have to play this many Korean films in order to get this many foreign films, usually Hollywood films, of course. And so that allowed the cultivation of a Korean film culture that might not have grown otherwise, or might not have grown to the same extent. And so we sort of have Parasite now, and we have other popular Korean films abroad. Of course, this kind of thing resulted in, the much lamented quota quickie, these Korean films just thrown together in a couple weeks and then screened for a few days in order to acquire more Hollywood films or the right to screen more Hollywood films. So in a way, you could say it was slightly harmful to Korean film at the same time as it was maybe more helpful than harmful. In any case, I was just reading the new edition of a book called The Birth of Korean Cool by Yoonhee Hong, who's a Korean-American journalist based in France. And she put this book out at first in the Gangnam Style era in 2014, when a lot of foreign readers, it's an English language book, foreign readers thought, well, yeah, people are into Korean stuff, but maybe it's a flash in the pan. Well, now it's 2025, and clearly it's not just a flash in the pan. So it came time to update the book with chapters on BTS, on Parasite, on Squid Game, phenomena of that kind. And she, in this book, wrote, even in the first edition, about the government initiatives toward pop culture or toward exportable culture. And that gave a lot of readers at that time, in 2014, the idea that, oh, Hallyu, the Korean wave, K-pop, is a government program entirely, as if it had simply been propped up, it had been created whole cloth by the Korean state. When, her point is, that's not what I was arguing in the first place, but think about it. If the Korean government was making K-pop, if it was all on their bill and it was directed according to their decisions, would it really be Psy? Would it be Gangnam Style who hit it big? Probably not. It'd be a glossy girl group singing about crushes. It wouldn't be Psy. It wouldn't be an in-joke about life in Seoul, which nobody would understand without really being able to grasp the context or the lyrics. But again, as I say, visual medium, people loved how it looked, and it was catchy as well. So yes, government funding cannot be ignored. It's a big part of the pop culture here, especially as directed toward exports. But in a way, it's the same as other Korean industries, right? Throughout the miracle on the Han, the rapid development economically of Korea, so much was about taking industries and directing them toward creating exports, cars to export, washing machines to export, semiconductors. And so, in a way, Hallyu, K-pop, the pop culture industry here is of a piece with all the other industries that have made Korea a developed country.
Right. And Marianna, staying with this, President Lee Jae-myung, his pledge to promote South Korea's soft diplomacy competitiveness to rank number 5 worldwide from the current 12, I believe, and to raise revenue to 300 trillion Korean won from K-culture. What are your takeaways from this ambitious plan?
This is very ambitious, actually, and I'm willing to see where is going on, because the path is clear. What it wants to do is very ambitious, because ranking from under the 10th position over the top 5 is something very, very ambitious. I think it's something that might happen because the power is, as we say, the power is stronger. But we need to see and be very careful because everything is connected, to also the relationship with other countries. So whatever happens in the geopolitical way, so with China and the US, and we all know what with the bans and everything and the visa problems and the visa issues in the US, whatever is happening right now, we need to focus on the fact that it's a very ambitious plan, but we need to focus on the other side of the world, what is happening there, and how the people will react. Because right now in the US, for example, people is like trying to go there for a concert, but having some visa problems, but not for the artists, but for the staff, especially. And that's raising a lot of issues. So that might be very difficult for the ranking, also. So it's a very ambitious plan, and I'm very curious to see the next step and how it's moving forward and what it will bring on the table, because it's not only K-pop, it's going to be K-food, it's going to be K-beauty especially, I think. It's going to be K-drama, K-movies. So there are a lot of K factors that it needs to focus on. So it's very ambitious, and I can't wait to see the plan and how it will develop that.
This is an impromptu question, Marianna, but if you were able to give the government some kind of advice with regard to advancing this particular plan, what would you suggest? You mentioned earlier about how we need to focus quite a bit on the artists and their health.
I think being focused on the artists and listen to the artists, because the artist has a lot of ideas actually. When I meet them for interviews, they are very insightful and they always know something more about the countries that they're visiting, you know. We could have done this and that on that. So I think that talking with them and talking with the big people in the K entertainment industry, but not the agencies, but the artist himself, I think that is going to be a key role that the government needs to do, because it's like talking with someone that actually is working in the field, you know, and they're on the stage, they know their people, so they know how to behave and how to act. So I think that talking with them, let's make an example, BTS are known worldwide, Blackpink are known worldwide. I think they will have a lot of insights for the government, you know. So talking with the artists, I think it's one of the key roles on that.
Right, and staying with the same question, Colin, if you had the opportunity to advise the current Lee Jae-myung administration with regard to advancing its ambitious plan to further advance Korea's cultural initiatives, what would be some of your suggestions?
Yes, Lee Jae-myung's been talking big about pop cultural policy, and a few of the points that he's mentioned, as he's discussed, have stuck with me or stand out to me. One of them being to build a 50,000-seat arena for K-pop, supposedly, but it can be used for a foreign artist can come here. I mean, and that might be part of it because Seoul sort of infamously lacks a large arena of the kind of, like, say, Madison Square Garden. So that's not a particularly beloved arena in New York. Pop artists play there, pop stars play there, or the O2 Arena in London. Seoul does not have anything comparable to that. You need at least 20,000 seats. And you know, there's some repurposed sports stadiums, but the sound isn't very good. So if that can be built, okay, you know, fair play, give that a try. Another one that he's sort of thrown out there is about building a Netflix-like streaming application. He was saying, it was a sort of an offhanded comment, but he was saying, look at how big Squid Game has been on Netflix, to say nothing of the other Korean shows that have been big on there. You know, think of how much money we could have made if it had been through our own service, a Korean service. And so, a fair point, you know, he didn't say this, but if Netflix one day decides to defocus Korean content, you know, it's over for big swaths of the industry here. So getting too reliant on a foreign platform, yes, is something to be avoided. I think of the application from TV5 Monde, the French international channel. I think it's TV5 Monde Plus, the application, but it is like Netflix, doesn't work quite as well, but it is free. Anybody can use it to stream a lot of French language dramas or films, documentaries, things like that, and I've enjoyed using it. Korea building such an application probably would be trivially easy. I don't want to say without complications, but compared to building a stadium with 50,000 seats in Seoul, a little bit easier. That aside, I was recently invited to a forum, this K-branding forum, to comment on to give the foreigner's perspective, I suppose, on all this, on the potential of K-brands outside Korea in the world, and how much continuity do they have left in them. And I was saying, one thing to bear in mind, which I don't see emphasized enough, is that the reason so many fans of Korean culture, be it the films, the music, the dramas, the food, what have you, all of this stuff, they got into it not because it was catered toward their own tastes, but because it was catered toward Korean tastes. And that made it distinctive. That made the music distinctive to hear, the food distinctive in its tastes. And in the films, especially for me, I mean, I could feel this was not the product of Hollywood or any other country, because it was made for Koreans. There was no other audience at that time. And so if too much effort is spent bending over backward to please foreigners, to tailor the product to their taste, and you see a little bit of this. I mean, we're all waiting for Squid Game Season 3, I know, but that is a bit of a hybrid between Korean and broadly conceived foreign sensibilities. It works well, but at some point, if that's all you can do, you're going to kill the golden goose, to use the parable. You know, it's people like it because it's Korean. People like Korean things because they are Korean. And if you sort of start thinking about them as being completely foreign or primarily foreign-oriented, you may lose your initial audience.
Right, definitely some food for thought right there. Marianna, you mentioned BTS earlier. Now, news of all members of BTS ending their military service by this month has been making international headlines as well. We saw 4 members ending their mandatory military service this week, and Suga will be the final member to end his service, I believe, next weekend.
Yes, exactly.
What has been the focus of the foreign media with regard to their coverage of BTS?
It's incredible. We used to report every time they breathe, actually, and with Suga coming out, something is going to change. I think that just seeing the hype building with the writings, like "We are back," without BTS written in any form, just like the logos, that's the power of BTS. And I think that right now everyone is reporting about the being out, what is the military, the focus is on everything they do, and the focus is on the BTS Festa, which is going on these days. I know there are very long lines for BTS Festa from international people coming here and traveling just for a few days just to see the Festa and the dischargement of Suga and everyone. So everyone is supposed to look forward for BTS and their reunion. I hope that we're going to announce something very soon. I think they will actually. BTS is what they will be shaping K-pop. They're going to set the tone for what K-pop is going to be next. So everyone, I'm looking at the media, foreign media, for the Italian media, and everyone is talking about that. And seeing the Italian newspaper and TVs talking about BTS dischargement also on their social media is something huge. That means that something is really changing worldwide, and BTS are obviously the motors of everything.
All right, definitely a lot of anticipation for their reunion this year then.
Of course.
All right, I'm afraid that's all the time we have. Marianna, as always, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And Colin, thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you.
Right, well, that ends this week's editions of Press Perspective. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend and see you back here, same time next Monday.